Before you do anything else, slow down and stay with me for a second. Don't skip ahead. Don't tell yourself this is just another video, just another message, just another late-night thing you clicked because you were bored or restless or trying not to think too hard. It is not that simple. Something in you paused here for a reason. Something in you recognized this before your mind could explain it. And if that sounds strange, good, because the deepest truths usually do sound strange before they sound real. You did not just land here by accident. You felt this, quietly, instantly, like a memory without a picture, like hearing the first note of a song you forgot you loved. That feeling matters. Listen closely, because this next part is for the version of you that has been trying to hold everything together without making a scene, without asking for too much, without letting the cracks show. I know something about you already. You have been carrying more than people realize. You have been acting normal in moments that did not feel normal inside. You have been answering softly while fighting loud things in your own chest. And maybe nobody around you can fully see that. Maybe they only see that you are still functioning, still moving, still replying, still showing up. But that does not mean it has been easy. It has not been easy. And if you have been waiting for a sign, for clarity, for one honest moment that reaches past all the noise and says, yes, I see what this has cost you, then let this be that moment. Because what is happening in your life right now is not random, and what you feel in this very second is not small. You have been holding a kind of tiredness that does not always have words, not the kind that sleep fixes, not the kind people notice right away. It is deeper than that. It sits just behind your chest. It follows you into the quiet parts of the day. It appears in the pause after a text, in the silence before sleep, in the first minute of the morning when your eyes open, and the truth of your life rushes back before you can distract yourself. That is where you feel it. And maybe you have started calling yourself lazy, confused, too emotional, too attached, too slow, too stuck. Maybe you have made your exhaustion into a personal failure. But hear me clearly. Being tired is not the same as being broken. Feeling worn down is not proof that you are weak. Sometimes it is proof that you have been carrying a private battle with more courage than anyone knows. Sometimes it means you have been surviving a season that asked too much from your heart, your mind, your patience, and your hope all at once. There is a big difference between falling apart and being worn out from holding yourself together for too long. And I need you to feel that difference now, because the story you have been telling yourself is incomplete. It leaves out the strength. It leaves out the nights you stayed with discomfort instead of running from it. It leaves out the mornings you got up when your spirit felt heavy. It leaves out the moments you wanted to reach backward but chose not to. It leaves out the fact that you are still here, still listening, still trying, even after everything in you wanted a break from carrying this. You have been doing more inner work than you give yourself credit for. Maybe not perfectly. Maybe not in a clean, beautiful, inspiring way. Real growth almost never looks like that from the inside. Real growth looks messy. It looks like repeating the same lesson until one day it lands deeper. It looks like almost texting and then stopping. It looks like crying and still getting up the next day. It looks like noticing your own patterns and hating them, and then slowly, painfully, learning how to answer them differently. It looks like wanting comfort and choosing truth instead. That matters more than you think. The choices nobody claps for are often the ones that change a life. The message you did not send, the door you did not reopen, the fantasy you stopped feeding, the excuse you did not make, the silence you sat through without filling it with noise. Those are not small moments. Those are turning points in quiet clothes. And if nobody has said this to you lately, let me say it now. The part of you that feels exhausted is not the part of you that is failing. It is the part of you that has been carrying too much for too long, without enough rest, without enough clarity, and without enough recognition. That part of you deserves compassion, not blame. Stay with me here, because this matters. You are not behind. You are not ruined. You are not missing your life. You are inside one of those invisible seasons where everything important is happening under the surface first. The surface always lies before the shift becomes visible. From the outside it looks like nothing. From the inside, it is a full rearranging of who you are, what you allow, what you believe, and what you are no longer willing to call love just because it once felt intense. There is a deeper intelligence in you, and whether you call it instinct, soul, inner knowing, or something you cannot explain, it is real. It is not passive. It does not just sit there collecting old pain and replaying old scenes at 3 in the morning. It moves, it responds, it pushes toward truth. even when truth is uncomfortable, even when it cost you the version of life that once felt safe. And when you reach a certain point, when you have suffered enough to stop pretending, when you have hoped enough to become honest, when you have broken open just enough to finally hear yourself, something starts organizing inside you. Life begins to arrange certain moments with strange precision. A message appears, a silence becomes louder than words, a memory returns at the exact hour you needed to feel it. Something reaches you and it feels almost personal, almost direct. That is because not everything important arrives through logic. Some things arrive through readiness. Some things reach you only when your inner world has become open enough to receive them, and I think that is where you are now. You are in a moment where what is meant to wake you up can finally get through, not because you suddenly became special overnight, but because struggle has made you available to truth. There is a version of your life you have been quietly holding for a long time. Not loudly, not desperately, just carefully, like something fragile you did not want to drop. A version where what is unresolved finally becomes clear. A version where what has stayed suspended finally lands. A version where what you feel starts matching what is real. And lately you have been asking yourself, in the most private corners of your mind, whether holding that vision still makes sense. That question does not mean you are foolish. It does not mean your hope is fake. It means you are in the middle of learning something hard and necessary. You are learning the difference between hope that keeps your heart alive and attachment that quietly drains your life. That lesson almost never comes gently. It arrives through tension, through confusion, through mixed signals inside your own body. One part of you wants to release. One part of you still feels connected. One part of you wants peace. One part of you still wants the story to finish differently. And being caught between those parts is exhausting. I know. It can feel like standing in a doorway for far too long. Behind you is what you already know, even if it hurt. Ahead of you is what you cannot yet touch, even if it may hold everything you need. And the doorway itself is where you have been living. Not fully back, not fully forward, just in between. That in-between place can make you feel powerless. But do not mistake discomfort for failure. This is important, so hear it clearly. Being in between is not the same as being lost. It is not proof that nothing is happening. Often it means something new is being built from two truths that could not stay separate forever. The person you were and the person you are becoming are meeting each other here. The fear and the desire are meeting here. The old pattern and the new standard are meeting here. And no, it does not feel graceful. It feels strange. It feels slow. It feels like a hallway with no windows. But some of the biggest inner changes happen in places that feel exactly like this. Don't click away mentally now. This is where most people misunderstand their own transformation and turn back too early. The in-between is where your whole inner structure begins to shift. Outwardly, you may look fine. You may still answer messages, go to work, make plans, smile on cue, laugh when needed, and keep the day moving. But inwardly, a complete reordering has been happening. What you think love should feel like is changing. What safety means to you is changing. What you will allow and what you will no longer excuse is changing. The way you see your own worth is changing. And that kind of change does not make noise at first. It makes pressure. It makes restlessness. It makes you feel like you are not who you used to be, but not yet who you are trying to become. That space can be deeply lonely because there is no clean language for it. You cannot always explain it to the people around you. They want quick updates and simple labels. They want you healed or not healed, over it or not over it, fine or not fine. But your truth is more layered than that. You are becoming, and becoming is one of the most disorienting things a human being can live through. It asks you to keep moving without full proof. It asks you to trust shifts you cannot yet show. It asks you to release identities that once protected you. It asks you to walk with less certainty and more honesty. That is why you feel tired. Not because nothing is happening, but because so much is happening inside that your mind has not fully caught up yet. This season is not empty. This season is active. Even the stillness is active. Even the silence is doing work. Even the confusion is teaching you something. And one day you will look back and see that this was not the place where your life paused. This was the place where your deeper life quietly took the wheel and began steering you away from what looked familiar but could no longer hold the truth of who you are. And yes, there is someone you still think about. Maybe not every second. Maybe not in the dramatic way people imagine. but their presence still lives somewhere in you. It shows up unexpectedly, in a song, in a certain hour of the night, in a phrase you hear from someone else that suddenly carries an old ache with it, in a kind of light that enters the room and reminds you of a version of yourself that existed when they were close. Let's be honest about that. Pretending you feel nothing does not heal you, it just splits you in two. So let's tell the truth. They matter, they affected you, they opened something. They also hurt you, confused you, or left questions behind that your heart still sometimes reaches for when the day gets quiet. But listen carefully now, because this part matters. They are not the center of this story. You are. They are part of the landscape, yes, but they are not the destination. What happened with them touched something deep in you because it was not only about them, it was also about what the connection exposed. It showed you your longing, your tenderness, your patterns, your capacity, your hunger for something honest. And whether they knew what to do with that or not is a separate issue from what the experience revealed in you. They may be in their own process now, one they do not fully understand, one they may even be trying to outrun. People can look calm and still be deeply unsettled underneath. People can move on outwardly while inwardly wrestling with things they cannot name. Real reckoning often happens in silence, not in dramatic speeches, not in obvious gestures, in quiet moments, in private discomfort, in sudden memories they did not ask for, in the slow return of questions they once avoided because avoidance was easier than truth. What was real between you did not simply disappear because the form changed. Real things do not vanish that neatly. They move underground. They stay alive in memory, in contrast, in absence, in the strange way a person begins to understand what something meant only after it is no longer easily available. But hear me with absolute clarity. This is not permission to stop your life and wait. This is not a reason to build a home inside uncertainty. Your growth cannot be organized around someone else finally waking up, finally becoming clear, finally turning back, finally saying the thing you wanted them to say. That kind of waiting slowly erases a person from their own life, and you have already done too much work to disappear now. The version of you are building in private matters more than any outcome you cannot control. The grounded version, the honest version, the version that no longer shrinks to stay lovable, the version that does not need to perform peace while starving for truth. That version of you is not against love. That version is what makes real love possible. Because real love cannot meet you where you are abandoning yourself. It can only meet you where you are present, awake, and no longer bargaining away your own worth just to keep a connection alive. Stay with this. Let it sink in. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming clearer. You are not losing your softness. You are learning where softness belongs and where it gets wasted. You are not asking for too much. You are finally noticing how often you were asked to live on too little. That is not bitterness. That is wisdom growing muscles.